During a luxury business retreat in Bali, my colleague laughed, "Relax, everyone here has a holiday romance. Even the married ones." I brushed it off until I saw a waitress slip a note into his pocket. That night, I followed him to a beachfront villa, where he was waiting. With her. When I walked in, he smirked. "It's just the culture here." Calmly, I handed him a plane ticket. "Good. Because you're staying." His smile faded as he realized it was one way. I never thought I'd be the type of person to get involved in someone else's business, especially when it came to marriage. I had always believed that what people did behind closed doors was none of my concern. But when it's happening right in front of you, when the betrayal is so blatant that you can practically feel the weight of it pressing down on your chest, how do you just look away? I was in Bali for a week-long luxury business retreat, the kind of corporate reward that made you feel like you'd really made it. 5-star villas with infinity pools, private beaches, staff that treated us like celebrities. The company had spared no expense, and neither had some of my colleagues. By the second night, it was clear that, for some of them, this wasn't just a business trip, it was an opportunity. The drinks were flowing, conversations loosened, and at some point, someone in our group laughed and said, "Relax, everyone here has a holiday romance. Even the married ones." I remember scoffing at that, shaking my head as I took another sip of my drink. Not my thing. Daniel, my colleague and roommate for the trip, clinked his glass against mine, grinning. "Come on, don't be so uptight. You're in Bali. It's just the culture here." I brushed it off. Maybe it was just talk. People said all kinds of things when they were a few drinks in. But then I saw it. A waitress, young, gorgeous, the kind of beautiful that made you do a double take, walked past us. As she did, she slipped a folded note into Daniel's hand. No hesitation, no pause, as if she'd done this 100 times before. And Daniel? He smirked. Like this was nothing. Like it was normal. Like it was expected. He unfolded the note, read it quickly, then tucked it into his pocket. He didn't even look around to see if anyone had noticed. That's what got me. The ease of it. The way he just accepted it like this was part of the package deal. I should have ignored it. I should have gone back to my room and let it go. But something about it didn't sit right with me. I waited. And when Daniel slipped out of our room later that night, quiet as a ghost, I followed him. The resort was massive, but I knew where he was going the second he stepped off the main path. The beachfront villas, the ones even more exclusive than the ones we were staying in, sat at the far end of the property, separated by a small strip of private beach. Daniel wasn't even trying to be discreet. He walked like a man with a destination, hands in his pockets, head down just enough to look casual, but not enough to actually hide anything. He reached one of the villas, glanced around once, then knocked. The door opened almost instantly. It was her. The waitress. She was already dressed in something different. Not her uniform. A thin, flowy dress that clung to her body like it was made for her. She smiled, pulled him inside, and shut the door. I stood there for a long time. I wasn't sure what I was waiting for. Some kind of confirmation, I guess. As if seeing it with my own eyes wasn't enough. But what the hell was I supposed to do now? I wasn't his wife. It wasn't my life falling apart behind that door. But she deserved to know, didn't she? I walked back to the resort, mind racing. I wasn't sure if I was mad or just disgusted. Probably both. By the time I got back to the main building, I had already made up my mind. I went straight to the front desk. The night manager, a man in his early 40s with a polite, professional smile, looked up as I approached. "How can I help you, sir?" "I need a plane ticket." "Certainly. When are you looking to depart?" I shook my head. "Not for me." I gave him Daniel's full name and requested the next available one-way flight back home. The manager hesitated, but when I pulled out my company credit card and placed it on the counter, he nodded. Understood. It was done in less than 10 minutes. I grabbed the printed ticket and held it in my hands, staring at the name. Daniel's name. I could have stopped there. Could have left it at that, let him figure it out on his own. But that wasn't enough. I wasn't done yet. The next morning, I waited. Daniel strolled into the open-air restaurant looking a little worse for wear. Hungover. Tired. Smug. Like a man who had gotten away with something. I let him sit down, let him pour himself a coffee, take that first sip. Then I slid the ticket across the table. He glanced down at it, frowning. "What's this?" I leaned back in my chair. "Your flight home." His smirk faded. It took him a second, but when he looked back up at me, his expression changed. Confusion. Then realization. Then anger. You had no right, I interrupted, my voice calm. "She deserves to know." He went completely still. "Who?" I tilted my head slightly. "Take a guess." His breathing changed. And that's when he knew. He knew what I had done. What I had set into motion. And there wasn't a damn thing he could do to stop it. Daniel stared at the plane ticket like it might burst into flames. His fingers curled around the edge of the paper, knuckles turning white. He looked at me again, his expression darkening. You called her. His voice was low, controlled, but there was something underneath it. Panic. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. The way his jaw clenched, the way he gripped his coffee cup like he wanted to throw it, he already knew. She's on her way, isn't she? I picked up my own cup, taking a slow sip. I don't know. Maybe. It wasn't a lie. I had called his wife the night before, laid out the facts in the simplest way possible. I told her where we were, what I had seen, and what Daniel was doing while she was probably tucking their kids into bed. She hadn't said much. Just breathing at first. Then a soft, clipped, thank you. Then she hung up. And that was it. No screaming. No crying. Just those 2 words. Daniel let out a bitter laugh, shaking his head. You really think you're some kind of hero, huh? I shrugged. I think you're a piece of shit. His expression flickered, anger, embarrassment, something close to regret, but he shoved it down fast. He shoved his chair back instead, standing abruptly. You have no idea what you've done. Now that was interesting. Not, you had no right. Not, why would you do that? But, you have no idea what you've done. For the first time, I felt something other than anger. Something that felt a lot like doubt. Because the way he said it, it didn't sound like a man afraid of losing his wife. It sounded like a warning. Then his phone buzzed. He pulled it out, read something on the screen, and then, just for a second, I saw it. Fear. Pure, unfiltered, real fear. He looked at me again, but this time, he wasn't angry. He was pale. And then, without another word, he turned and walked out of the restaurant. I watched him go, every part of me screaming at me to let it go. To sit back down, drink my coffee, and wait for whatever came next. But I couldn't, because something was wrong. I followed him. He walked fast, cutting through the resort, past the pools and sunbathing tourists, heading toward the private beachfront villas again. Not his own room. Not to pack his things. Back there. Back to her. The waitress. My stomach twisted. Daniel's wife was supposed to be the only person he should be afraid of right now. But that wasn't what this looked like. This looked like a man scrambling to fix a mistake before someone else got to it first. The air was thick, humid, the kind that clung to your skin. The waves crashed against the shore, a steady, rhythmic sound, too calm for what was happening right in front of me. I ducked behind a row of cabanas as Daniel reached the villa. He knocked once. No answer. Twice. Nothing. Then he tried the door. It wasn't locked. He stepped inside, and I waited. 5 seconds. 10. Then crash. Something shattered inside. I was moving before I could think, feet kicking up sand as I ran to the open doorway. The villa was dim, only a single lamp glowing in the corner. And Daniel was standing in the middle of it, breathing hard. Alone. No waitress. No one. But the room wasn't empty. It was wrecked. Glass on the floor. Sheets half ripped off the bed. The closet doors hanging open, empty. Like someone had left in a hurry. Or like someone had never planned on staying. Daniel turned in a slow circle, taking in the destruction. Then, he saw something. A folded piece of paper, sitting perfectly in the center of the bed. He walked to it like he already knew what it was. Like he was expecting it. He picked it up, unfolded it, and read. I saw his hands shake. I saw the color drain from his face. I didn't have to ask what it said. Because a second later, he crumpled the paper in his fist, turned to me, and said, "We need to leave. Now." And that's when I realized Daniel wasn't running from his wife. He was running from something else. Daniel's words sent a chill down my spine. We need to leave. Now. Not I need to leave. Not you shouldn't be here. We. I didn't move. I didn't say anything. I just stared at him, waiting for an explanation. He looked like he wanted to say something, but instead, he just ran a hand through his hair, muttered something under his breath, and stormed past me. I followed him, because now I needed to know. The Daniel I knew was arrogant, careless, way too comfortable with lying to his wife. But he wasn't afraid of anything. He wasn't the kind of guy who looked haunted. But right now, he looked like he had just seen a ghost. I grabbed his arm before he could take off down the beach. What the hell is going on? He pulled away, face tense. You don't want to know. Try me. He exhaled sharply, glancing over his shoulder like he expected someone to be watching. The girl, he said finally, voice low. She's not just some waitress. I narrowed my eyes. Yeah, no shit. But what does that mean? He hesitated. And then, before he could answer, his phone buzzed again. He pulled it out, looked at the screen, and froze. His grip on the phone tightened. Then, without a word, he turned the screen toward me. It was a message. From an unknown number. A single photo. Of me. Taken just minutes ago. Standing outside the villa. My stomach dropped. Daniel shoved the phone back into his pocket. We need to leave. Now. This time, I didn't argue. We moved fast, cutting through the darkened resort, back toward the main area. It wasn't until we reached the pool that I grabbed his arm again, stopping him. No more running. Explain. Daniel looked around, making sure no one was too close. Then he exhaled sharply. I met her 2 nights ago, he admitted. It wasn't planned. She just showed up. I crossed my arms. Yeah? And you just happened to invite her back to a private villa? His jaw tensed. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? He ran a hand over his face. I don't know, okay? 1 minute we were talking at the bar. Next thing I knew, she slipped a note into my pocket. I thought it was a room number. So I went. I gave him a flat look. That's exactly what it sounds like. Daniel shook his head. No, it wasn't normal. When I got there, she was already inside. Like she knew I was coming. Like she was waiting. A cold feeling crept up my spine. Then what happened? He hesitated. Then, finally, she knew things. What kind of things? Daniel's voice dropped. She knew my wife's name. I frowned. So? That's not exactly hard to find out. She knew my kids' names. That stopped me cold. She said them before I told her anything. Just sat there, smiling, saying my daughter's name like she had known her for years. My skin prickled. Daniel swallowed. I thought it was a weird joke. A way to mess with me. But then she said something else. He looked at me, and for the first time since I had known him, he looked genuinely scared. She said, "You're not the first. And you won't be the last." A beat of silence passed between us. Then, he kept going. She said she knew why I was in Bali. That she knew I'd be tempted. That she knew I'd come to her. Like it was all part of some plan. I stared at him. You're saying this is some kind of setup? Daniel's hands clenched into fists. I don't know what it is. But when I woke up the next morning, she was gone. No note, no number. Nothing. I tried to process that. Okay, but what does that have to do with me? Daniel exhaled sharply. Because I think she was waiting for you next. I felt something tighten in my chest. That picture on my phone? Daniel said. It's not just some random threat. It's a warning. You're caught up in it now. I shook my head. That's ridiculous. I never even talked to her. Daniel gave me a sharp look. You didn't have to. Then, without another word, he turned and walked toward the front desk. And this time, I followed him. The night manager was still there, standing behind the sleek marble desk, his expression neutral as we approached. Daniel placed both hands on the counter. We need to leave. Now. The manager didn't react. Sir, checkout isn't until. I don't give a damn, Daniel snapped. Book us the next flight out. First class economy, I don't care. Just get us off this island. The manager looked between us. Then, slowly, he reached for his computer. He typed for a moment, then frowned. That's strange. Daniel stiffened. What? The manager turned the screen toward us. There are no flights available for the next 3 days. My pulse skipped. That's not possible, Daniel said. Check again. The manager did. Same result. 3 days. No flights. No way out. Daniel took a shaky breath, trying to keep it together. Then, something on the counter caught my eye. A small white envelope. Sitting there like it had been placed just for us. No name. No writing. Just waiting. I reached for the envelope. Daniel grabbed my wrist before I could touch it. His grip was tight, urgent. Don't. I looked at him, confused, but his face was pale. His eyes flicked between the manager and me. You think I ordered this? I snapped, shaking his hand off. I don't even know what it is. Daniel exhaled sharply and stepped back, rubbing his hands over his face. I have a bad feeling. I opened the envelope. Inside was a single, folded piece of paper. 3 words were written in the center, in delicate, slanted handwriting. Enjoy your stay. I stared at it, my pulse hammering. That's it? Daniel asked, voice hoarse. I flipped it over. Nothing else. No threats. No names. Just those 3 words. And yet it made my stomach twist in a way I couldn't explain. The night manager cleared his throat. Would you like me to check for alternate routes? Perhaps a private flight? Daniel didn't answer. He just turned on his heel and walked away, heading straight for the bar. I stayed behind for a second, feeling the weight of the note in my hands. It didn't make sense. None of this did. I slipped it back into the envelope and followed Daniel. I found him at the bar, hunched over a drink, his fingers tapping against the counter. You're spiraling, I said, sliding into the seat next to him. Daniel let out a bitter laugh. Gee, I wonder why. I flagged down the bartender, ordered a beer, and leaned in. Just tell me what you're not saying. Daniel looked at me, then down at his drink. There's more. I tensed. More? He nodded slowly. After she said that weird shit about knowing my wife and kids, I asked her why she picked me. I waited, She smiled, he continued. And she said, because you were easy. I exhaled through my nose. Brutal, but not shocking. Daniel shook his head. That's not the part that freaked me out. She said, he swallowed. She said she doesn't pick people. People find her. I frowned. What does that mean? I don't know, he admitted. But when I woke up, she was gone. Like she was never there. I was about to respond when I caught something out of the corner of my eye. A woman. Standing just outside the bar, watching us. She was wearing a white dress, her dark hair loose around her shoulders. For a split second, I thought it was her. The waitress. My stomach flipped. But then she moved into the light, and I realized it wasn't her. It was Daniel's wife. She walked in like she already knew exactly where to find him. Daniel turned, saw her, and all the color drained from his face. She stopped a few feet away, eyes locked on him. No tears. No yelling. Just silence. The kind that felt more dangerous than screaming. Hey, Daniel finally said, his voice hollow. His wife looked at me. Are you the one who called? I nodded. She nodded back. Thank you. Daniel let out a harsh breath. Jesus, Rebecca, can we not do this here? Rebecca. So that was her name. She gave him a sharp, cold smile. Oh, I think here is perfect. Daniel set his glass down, his hands shaking. Look, I know you're pissed, but pissed. Rebecca repeated. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Daniel, pissed doesn't even begin to cover it. I felt the room shift. Other people were starting to notice. The bartender hesitated, glancing between us like he wasn't sure if he should step in. Daniel exhaled sharply. Rebecca, she held up a hand. Stop. Daniel clenched his jaw, but he shut up. Then, Rebecca reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. I got a message on my flight over, she said. From an unknown number. Daniel's mouth pressed into a thin line. She tapped her screen and turned it toward him. It was another photo. Another recent photo. Of him. Standing outside the beachfront villa. The same villa I had followed him to. The photo was grainy, but it was clear enough. He was facing the door, just about to knock. Daniel inhaled sharply. Where the hell did you get that? Rebecca lowered the phone. I don't know. But whoever sent it, she tilted her head slightly, wanted to make sure I knew exactly what you've been up to. Daniel's breathing was uneven now. Rebecca, I can explain. No, she interrupted, her voice like ice. You can't. She pulled something else from her bag. A plane ticket. She placed it on the bar, right next to his drink. One way. Daniel's name. His wife met his eyes. You're staying. The bar was dead silent. Daniel swallowed. Rebecca, please. She turned, walked away, and never looked back. I watched him stare at the ticket, his face unreadable. Finally, after what felt like forever, he picked it up. Read it. Then, slowly, he turned to look at me. He didn't speak. Didn't argue. Just looked. Like he knew. Like he finally understood. Somewhere, deep down, I think he realized he had never been in control. And he never would be again. I finished my drink, stood up, and left him there. Alone.